Good morning, this is Ben, and I wanted to respond to the Vlog Brothers on religion. And I had a little bit of difficulty with the Vlog Brothers video because it was a little bit ambiguous for me exactly like where he was going with it. So I had to slow down and try to make sure I understood where he's coming from. And it sounded like he was saying something really dumb, but I took a step back, took a breath, and I was like, oh, okay, I think this is what he's saying. So this is my best, which wasn't as dumb as what I thought he was saying. But this is my best summary I could come up with. I just put it in a little syllogism. Premise 1, secular humanism is true. Okay, so secular humanism is true, premise 1. Premise 2, secular humanism is about finding meaning. So secular humanism is about finding meaning, is premise 2. Premise 3, religion is about finding the same meaning and some other stuff that only exists in the minds of the religious. So religion is about finding the same meaning and some other stuff that exists only in the minds of the religious. Premise 3. Conclusion, therefore it doesn't matter if you are religious or not. Therefore it doesn't matter if you are religious or not. Conclusion. And basically, I bet you a lot of people who would call themselves, atheists or something, similar to an atheist would probably think the same thing. And so I have 3 questions I want to ask. Obviously, the first question is secular humanism true? Because if it is not true, then every religion would tell you it's very bad for you to not believe their religion. Because every religion of the world, and probably secular humanists as well, teach the golden rule and a similar moral code. There are some differences, but then they teach a different basis of that moral code. And they also all teach the problem of guilt, that we're all guilty of breaking that moral code, but they all teach a different solution to that problem. And so those are some differences that, if you don't solve the problem, then you've still got the problem of guilt. And the secular humanist solution is totally different from the Islamic, the Buddhist, the Hindu, and the Christian solution. They all differ greatly on their concepts of how to solve the problem. This is why we have all the different ones. And so, obviously if there is a God and you have to believe in Jesus, then it does matter. If Jesus is a liar and not imaginary, then it doesn't matter as much, at least as fundamentally. But it does matter in this other way. Even if Jesus is not real, even if secular humanism is true, my next question, does this same meaning, what we said, premise 3, religion is about finding the same meaning and some other stuff that exists only in the minds of the religious. But the problem is does this same meaning involve honesty? Because they obviously have all this stuff that exists only in their minds. If secular humanism is true, then the religious are fervent believers in lies. And how does this line up with the secular humanist concept of meaning? Are they really going to find meaning if they're that dishonest? And they're that given to insanity, basically? Because, they can't. It has to be insanity because they believe it's true, but it's not true. If indeed it is not true. Because we know they believe it. So anyway. And then my final question, which I'm sure everyone who was watching the video was thinking, does secular humanism actually find meaning? And I would of course argue from the Christian viewpoint that it does not, on the basis of the argument for God's existence from morality, that there cannot be meaning without God. So, put this as simply, try to put it real short and sweet. Premise 1, moral values and meaning, which is the same thing, only exist if God exists. Premise 2, moral values exist. Conclusion, therefore God exists. Okay? So, this is a logically valid argument, therefore, for it to be untrue, one of the premises has to be untrue. Premise 1, moral values exist only if God exists. Now, is that true? Morality is, what is it? It's that which tells you what to do when faced with a choice. It's about it's about the making the right choice instead of the wrong choice. It is fundamentally not about what is. It's about what should be or what ought to be. It's about a situation where you could have this or this, and you've got to decide. It's not, and the thing is, when that choice enters into it, morality it fundamentally cannot be based on what is, because what is will only cause one thing, based on the properties of whatever it is. You know, if your brain just has chemicals in it, then they're just going to do what they do based on where they are and what motion they have and what chemical properties they have. There's no this could have happened and that could happen. It just is. So what could be and what should be and what ought to be can never be based on what is. The only way you can have that basis is in something. So how do we base what should be? I mean, is there no basis for what should be? Only if you have a basis in a being that has concepts and can think beyond just what it is. And so, in the case of morality, it would be an ultimate basis that, decides what's right for everyone at all times in every situation. Only God. Moral values exist only if God exists. So, I would definitely argue that secular humanism is false. That there is no meaning if there is no God. But and I think, if you've seen Batman, The Dark Knight, the Joker's right. If there is no God, let's face it, morality is just a matter of, each man's opinion and our plans. Like he said, it was a sick joke dropped at the first sign of trouble because we made them up. And who's to say we can't make up a new one another day? And better yet, which man gets to decide what they are, what the rules are? It just ultimately becomes our preferences, a list of preferences, not moral commands that we're all obligated to follow. Does morality exist? I don't think anyone's going to say it doesn't. If you do, we'd probably lock you up. That's another question, but I think it seems like we almost have a sense that it does. That it's wrong to take a child and cut it up into little pieces and put flour and salt on it and fry it like chicken. We would all say, why would you do that? That's horrible, and we would want to lock someone up immediately because I think we all have a sense that it's wrong. And so, yeah, just to review, the first question, is secular humanism true? I mean, if it's not, then it's important that it's not. Next question is, even if secular humanism is true, does this same meaning that religions find also involve honesty? Because they're obviously horribly dishonest if secular humanism is true. And then, does secular humanism even find meaning? And I would argue no. So that was pretty blunt and to the point, but we'll just leave it with that. Bye.